Our headlines for you today. A key moment for the Chancellor. Rachel Reeves prepares to unveil her plans to turn the economy's fortunes around.
Among the ideas that may be unveiled later, a possible third runway at Heathrow Airport, expansion at Old Trafford and an upgrade to transport links between Oxford and Cambridge. But will it achieve growth?
I sit down with Idris Elba as he calls for tighter laws around the sale of knives as part of his mission to address what he calls a national crisis.
A ban on all knives is a very difficult thing to uphold. People use knives for all sorts of things, but a licence to carry certain knives is an option.
Strictly star Wyn Evans says he is deeply sorry and is now taking time out after what he calls his inappropriate actions.
Nearly half of head teachers in England say their school's given finances to families for things like utility bills, school shoes and food over the last year.
Good morning. In sport, last chance saloon for Manchester City in the Champions League. Pep Guardiola's team must win tonight and go that way, up the table and get into the playoff round, or they'll be eliminated.
Let's have a look at what the papers are saying this morning. Chancellor Rachel Reeves' push for growth features on lots of the front pages. Reeves pledges to create Europe's Silicon Valley, reads the Guardian headline. According to the paper, industry experts say the infrastructure will add up to £78 billion to the UK's economy over the next decade.
I will fight for growth, vows the Chancellor in the Daily Telegraph today, as she backs expansions at Heathrow, Gatwick and Luton airports amidst opposition from some colleagues in the Cabinet.
The Daily Mail says critics of the Chancellor are telling her to, quote, tear down barriers to growth that she created as she tries to revive what the paper calls the UK's flatlining economy.
And finally, The Times leads with Sir Keir Starmer likening his government to Margaret Thatcher's as he promises to cut through thickets of red tape to make way for growth. The Prime Minister wrote in The Times that he will take aim at overreach by government watchdogs and end what he calls vexatious legal challenges. He says it is now essential to make Labour's plans on home building and green energy a reality. We will be talking about that quite a bit through the programme this morning.
I bet Keir Starmer never expected to compare himself to Margaret Thatcher, did he?
I don't think it's the first time he's done it, is it?
Yeah.
It's interesting. Inside the papers today, did you know if it all becomes too much, Nina, there is another planet we could move to?
Oh, go on.
Super Earth, apparently, does exist and has conditions for life to evolve. I suppose evolve rather than live right now. Yeah. Signs of the planet named HD 20794D.
Catchy.
Yeah, were first seen in 2022 by a research assistant at the University of Oxford. They've worked on data analysis for years, gradually eliminating all possible sources of contamination, and said it's a huge joy when they could confirm the planet's existence.
Nice to know there's somewhere to go, isn't there, for a weekend away from one day. Have you ever been stung by a bee?
Yes. Didn't like it.
What big reaction or...?
No, just hurts.
My son got stung over summer, ended up with a massive lip when we were on holiday. Ruined the holiday. Anyway, if you don't want to get stung by a bee, there is a report out today. Make sure that you are around bees who act in pairs. A 3D printed dummy went along with a real bee, and apparently when they're with a pal, they're less likely to feel defensive and therefore go on the attack.
They're in a better mood together.
Having a little chat, a little bee chat.
I don't like being on my own.
No.
So it's better, yeah.
Are you very aggressive when you're on your own then? You're
no,
more likely
I'm
to
not
sting.
aggressive ever, but yeah. I don't think I've got a sting. No, I get that.
At 6, the dash for growth. The Chancellor says the government backs a third runway at Heathrow to help banish years of sluggish economic activity. Rachel Reeves maintains climate targets can still be met as she unveils a range of other infrastructure projects.
Loads of places around the country got a mention, and the Chancellor really wanted to sound positive. The question is, has she done enough to help us feel better off?
Ah, Mrs. Darcy.
Mr. Wallaker. Why is your granny wearing pyjamas?
And we're on the red carpet for the world premiere of the new Bridget Jones film.
A third runway.
Yes, on the day the Chancellor says the government...
And Lloyds Banking Group is set to close a further 136 branches. This will impact Lloyds, Halifax and Bank of Scotland customers. The group say all workers affected will be offered alternative roles.
Government backs a third runway. I'm in one of the villages in the shadow of Heathrow. It's a big issue affecting London, even more so for the people living here.
And how could this play out politically? London's mayor says he's against it. How many London Labour MPs could be too?
And it isn't just Heathrow earmarked for expansion. We'll look at the Chancellor's wider plans for economic growth in London. Essex Police is set to cut all of its PCSOs to balance its books. The Police and Crime Commissioner for Essex said there is a £5 million shortfall because of what he calls inadequate funding. The Home Office said police forces do have the resources they need. And bosses at the Prince Charles Cinema, the last independent cinema in central London, say it could close in 6 months after the landlord tried to introduce new terms to the lease. But Criterion Capital, which owns the cinema just off Leicester Square, says the terms of the new lease are standard practice and not unreasonable.